All right. It is now just after 8:30 p.m. Welcome back to Salami Day. It's time for the Car Talk segment. So tonight I'm talking to Moinuddin Gaibe and motoring journalist Adam Ford. No stranger to Friday Night Live with ST. It's hashtag Car Talk. Now, we're talking about tools being bought online where it's being used to reverse old car mileage, and people are becoming victims to this new scam that's been happening, right? So there are tools that are for sale online that can do this, and also it's affecting vehicles such as BMWs and Mercedes Benz. Obviously, the true mileage of newer BMWs and Mercedes Benzes, they are stored within the key. Now, to give us more in-depth analysis on this topic and what's exactly been happening and how not to be conned or scammed in this regard, we welcome Moinuddin Gaibe and Adam Ford. No strangers to obviously Salam Media. Assalamu alaikum, Moinuddin. You can hear me loud and clear?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Walaikum
Great.
salam wa rahmatullah.
Okay, great stuff. Great to have you with us. Thanks for obviously taking the time. So that's just going to bring Adam online. All right, having said that, it's Car Talk. Now, in the intro, I was discussing obviously this new trend, right, where motorists are using these tools bought online to obviously reverse the mileages on vehicles and, con people perhaps. I mean, you saying, okay, maybe a car's got 200,000 on the clock, it's now got 45, for example. Now, Moinuddin, I want to ask first things first, right? The original mileage can be turned back, but
Yeah.
uh, what type of tools are being used, and do you see this mainly on older vehicles? I mean, maybe the 80s models, 90s, early 2000s, or we seeing this more on a digital odometer? Firstly, I want to understand this properly, and for the viewers and listeners as well.
So look, we finding that it happens most. It's most prevalent with newer vehicles, primarily because with newer vehicles, there's obviously a lot more equity in the vehicle if the mileage is lower. So
Hmm.
what they do is they buy tools like the DigiProgs, and there's various other OBD tools which they can purchase as well
Okay.
to reverse mileage. So you get various quality tools, and you get guys who do it professionally. So when
All
they do
right.
it professionally, they would essentially reverse the mileage on the key as well. But 70 to 80% of the time, they can't reverse the mileage on the key with the newer vehicles. So you can then go to any dealership and then check the true mileage on the keys as opposed to what's actually on the odometer.
Okay, so now these tools are available online, right? So what price would this tool sell for? And I mean, is this trend really being seeing an increase, or is it like just something that's just become prevalent very recently?
Look, there was always a market for it in terms of second-hand car dealers
Hmm.
and bulk car dealers would use this type of service. And in terms of the kind of tools, you get something called the super bag, which is specifically meant for some VWs. And anything pre 2014, you could buy a tool which is going to cost you about 800 Rand online, and then you can
Okay.
adjust mileages for that. The more expensive tools would range any from between 3,500 to about 12,000 Rand. And then you get more specialized tools where you then read the EPROMs directly off the clocks or from the ECU, and you'd adjust the mileage on there. And that would
So
essentially
that's
then
going to be
program the
done
key.
basically electronically via the computer box, etc. Like how you do a normal diagnostics. This is basically how it's done. Correct.
Yeah, so you got two ways of doing it. You got the way of doing it via the OBD2, which is where the diagnostic socket is situated on most modern vehicles, and you
Yeah.
can then do it via the OBD2 with a tool, an electronic tool. Or the other option is taking the EEPROM off the board and then writing new mileage into the EEPROM, which could then on some vehicles write to the key as well.
Okay, now obviously when you fudge with this type of thing, right? Or the the ECU and computer box, etc. So wouldn't this affect now, for example, the service lights or indicator faults or whatever the case, would this affect it in some way, or any of the components perhaps on the vehicle? Let's say something mechanically.
Okay, so if you're getting someone who started out with that sort of thing, you could
Mm.
easily, because you're programming a portion on the vehicle, you can easily either deprogram something, or you could essentially leave a virus on the ECU or on the body control module.
Now, why I'm
Having
asking
said
this,
that, yeah,
Moinuddin, is because obviously some vehicles, obviously, well, most vehicles come with a, it will tell you, okay, you've got 4,000 kilometers for your next service, or, it will have an indicator, for example, be it oil or, whatever the case is, because some cars are mileage specific with the yearly services. That's why I'm asking the question. So what's going to happen then? And how would that be affected in any way or not?
look, no, that wouldn't be affected in any way, and that wouldn't even be a telltale because
Okay.
most people can zero that and you can reset your services. So the service
Oh,
indicator can then also be set with a PC.
okay.
So hypothetically, I set your mileage back by 100,000 kilos, and I set it back from 230,000 kilos to 130,000 kilos, and your next service is due at 135. I then go in with another diagnostic tool, and then I program your new service mileage. So then
Sure.
the service light or the service mileage warning light would still be prevalent and it would still come up.
Well, tonight, Facebook Marketplace, it looks like I'm going to make money. No, just kidding. But anyway, now, obviously, you mentioned that this might not really affect many of the major components, like I'm talking like a cam belt or whatever the case is, but you must take it obviously to some professional, right? Now, according to obviously, well, in your experience, obviously being from a security background, etc. With all of this equipment being sold online, do you get many people coming in at your place of work, or coming to you with regards to this, who have been victim with this type of thing, and finding out later after purchasing the vehicle, or how do people identify that the car's been tampered with? Is there some way that you can?
Yeah, look, there's various telltale signs on any vehicle in terms of um, matching up mileage on the actual odometer versus what the car has really done. So important things to look for is wear on the seats, especially on the driver's seat on the right panel as you get into the vehicle. Wear on accelerator pedals, wear on the mat itself, if providing they haven't used any rubber mats. So you look for physical telltale signs which would give you a better indicator. A good thing to do as well. I mean, if you're buying a new vehicle, hypothetically, and the vehicle's got 50,000 kilos on it,
All
chances are
right.
pretty good that the original brakes should be still fitted. The original tires, at least the front or rears, depending if it's front or rear wheel drive. And then just look for telltale signs on the suspension as well, because all of these things essentially would be your telltale signs in terms of what the real mileage is on the vehicle. Other than that, if there's no other electronic footprint left behind, there's no other way of knowing, depending on how good the person was who had initially turned back the mileage on the vehicle.
Now, obviously, if you look at the internet, right, and I mean, it obviously shows there's a range of these cars, right, and mileage correction products, right. But you mentioned it can go as cheap as 800 rand, and I've seen some go up to about 3,000 rand. But this should obviously be dependent on the type of car and the year model,
Correct.
etc.
Correct. Yeah, so
Okay.
let's say hypothetically you try to turn the clock back on a 2021 Mercedes or BMW with a
All
normal
right.
tool, and it's not a specified or specific tool for the job, especially on the new BMWs, you can easily blow the FEM controller, which is the main controller on these cars, and render the vehicle undrivable. And the agents would definitely pick this sort of thing up, knowing why the FEM controller has now suddenly become deprogrammed from the car.
Okay. Now, this raises the other question, right? I mean, maybe you own a vehicle that in the past perhaps gave you endless issues, and then all of a sudden now you want to fix one, let's say one problem on the car, all right? And then another thing crops up. Now then, do you then basically reset everything on the vehicle, and can you do that and then sell the car? And are there type of syndicates that are involved in this here, or is this basically just people, random individuals doing it, or is it like an organized syndicate within the motoring industry where this type of thing happens?
You look, I think it's like with every other industry, everyone in the industry would obviously be linked to each other. And a lot of the guys in our field, electronic field, withdraw from each other's knowledge because one would be a professional at BMW, another at Mercedes, another at Toyota. And let's say hypothetically, I run into some sort of issue, I can always call someone. And similarly with that, they form their own groups. And if one's very proficient in BMW, for example, and he then has all the tools for BMW, they then share the knowledge and they share the tools sometimes and then split the profits.
Mm.
That's
Now,
essentially. Yeah. So I don't know if you can actually term that as a syndicate. I think it's more of a business relationship, I suppose.
oh well, I mean, business is business. Unfortunately, times have become like that where people are doing such and conning people. It's well, we just pray that people are guided in the correct direction. But you won't be
Right.
able to obviously know that a vehicle's odometer has been reversed, all right? Off the bat, I'm talking like can't just make out. But
Correct.
generally, the vehicles are kept aesthetic. Well, the aesthetics of the car is quite good. But obviously, can't you do a mileage check perhaps at OEM or something, and maybe get more knowledge of the vehicle? Perhaps would that kind of thing work, or not really?
So what we would essentially tell our clients to, because I've got many clients who bring their vehicles to me prior to purchasing the vehicle. What we tell them to do, I look at the paintwork, I look at the various things because I've been in the industry for 27 years. So I look at what the aesthetics looks like on the vehicle, what the seats look like, what the mat looks like, what the steering looks like, what everything else looks like around the vehicle. Then also we call the dealers to find out when the last service was actually done at the dealer, if it's an earlier model vehicle, and then that way we can then depict in terms of timeline if the services add up, because you need to look. A lot of these cars are sold with service history as well, so you look at the services and you see if there is a pattern in terms of how the services were done. Typically they would call it a one or two owner vehicle, or the favorite one is old white lady, and it would
Okay.
be a single owner vehicle, and there would be a pattern in the beginning of the vehicle, and then the pattern suddenly changes. So you'd find that the vehicle went in for its service at the 10,000 service would maybe happen at 10,500. The 25,000 service happens at 25,
Mm.
25,200 type of thing. But so it's very close. As soon as you see a deviation in the way the services are being done, that's also a telltale sign. Because then what they've tried
Mm.
to do is they try to fit the services in to the
Right.
mileage in order to justify it.
So that they
And
both
we've also
correspond,
found,
obviously.
I have to have broken your word over there, but we've also
Yeah.
found in the past that if you call the dealer, sometimes you find that a vehicle's got 125,000 Ks on the clock, but it was at the dealer 3 years ago for 130,000 kilo service.
Right.
So so maybe it's a good idea to call your local dealer depending on the make and model of vehicle you buy.
No, obviously that's important. Obviously, to look at because being obviously a victim to this is not a nice thing. I mean, finding out later on that your car maybe at 300,000 k's and you thought perhaps it's only got 150, that you struck a deal perhaps. Now I want to
Yeah,
talk about AutoWorks and your experience there. I'm seeing your website here, looking quite interesting, and obviously you guys are based out in Maitland, correct?
correct. Yes, 175
Awesome
Orchard Road.
stuff. Lovely, man. I mean, obviously, you stockists of Rockford Fosgate and a whole lot of other services that you are offering. I see scratch and dent removal. But as we draw to a close, Moinuddin, you can share your links with us at AutoWorks. I see it's auto-wors.com. Are you guys on Facebook as well?
Yeah, we're on Facebook as AutoWiz. We're on Instagram as AutoWiz as well. And of late, we've been doing some nice classic work.
Okay.
Mustang notchbacks, Mustang fastbacks, Bentley
Oh.
Turbo Rs. I've got a Lotus Esprit in the shop, the same like was
Yeah,
used
Marv,
in the
sorry,
James Bond
we
movie.
don't have Lotuses and Bentleys, Marv. Sorry, man. Maybe that's all in Cape Town. No, it's all good, man. But anyway, it's a pity we couldn't get Mr. Ford himself, Adam Ford, to join us tonight. I don't know, he's missing or he's not focusing. But anyway, guys, go on to auto-words.com. Yeah, and check out Moinuddin and what the services AutoWords provides. Moinuddin, jazakallah for your time tonight and sharing,
Jazakallah.
the experience. And inshallah, we'll have another car talk segment in a few weeks' time. Take care. Have a lekker evening.
Same to you, inshallah. Everything of
Jazakallah.
the best. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. So that was obviously Moinuddin Gaibe there talking to us about the scam where people reverse your mileage, be it on your odometer, being it old school, being it a digital one. Have you been a victim of this? You can comment and send through your WhatsApp on 0617660355. Wow, looking at the time, that brings us to the end of Friday Night Live with me, ST. Yeah, it's been great hosting you guys. I acknowledge one and all. Alhamdulillah. We're grateful to the Almighty, the Creator, the Sustainer, and He is as how He has praised Himself. May He guide us all, inshallah. Have a wonderful evening ahead, a great weekend. Guys, be safe, sanitize, be safe wherever you are. And yeah, until the next Friday Night Live show, same time, same place. Assalamu alaikum. Take care.